Hello, everybody, and today for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I am reviewing The Heart of Evil. So this is where Cabaxis and Tiger Claw have now reached their limit. They are ready to take the heart of Shredder, but at what cost? So they're speaking of their next plan with the cult. While meanwhile, Mikey and Raph are listening what they're up to, and Mikey almost interrupts, but Raph tells him to be quiet as they are tracking what they could be saying. But it turns out, they find out that, the heart is in the hands of Don Vizioso, who we see is, now, eating all the food he can while sitting next to Shredder's heart, and even his goons admit that's pretty gross. But while that's all going on, I think this is where Leo and Donnie try to come in to get the heart, but Cabaxis has sent Bebop and Rocksteady to go after the heart, and it's like one big fight where the two go into the restaurant. Well, Bebop sneaks in, invisible, and he says, taking candy from an ugly baby. Even Cabaxis is sounding more frustrated, saying, "Do not disappoint us." But, Leo and Donnie are ready to break in there. But Donnie is, for some reason, having a little bit of an anger towards Don Vizioso. So if you don't know, from season, I think, 3, Don Vizioso's goons try to chop up Donnie and Mondo Gecko. So Donnie now has a grudge to take down Don Vizioso. So we're seeing a different side of Donnie than what we usually see. But Leo and Donnie break in once Bebop is caught, and Rocksteady breaks in with his little machine gun, and it's one big fight. And we even see the return of the Sylvester Stallone character. I just call him that. I don't know his name. Sorry. But his character is back, and he's ready for another fight. And he actually almost hammers Donnie during the fight. But they try to get the heart, but it just does not work out. As I think Don Vizioso ends up getting away with his rocket chair. But they all failed to get the heart. But that's where they all gather together. Our characters gather together, plotting their next move. But Leo and Donnie are butting heads because Leo is trying to find a way to get the heart. But because Donnie's grudge is getting in the way of their mission, the two just butt heads over it. But Karai breaks it up. But they got to figure out what their next move is. But Mikey ends up interrupting by saying they could find a way to get the seal by taking it from Tiger Club, but then he thinks they could use it to, make Cabaxis do things for them, like eat pizza and play video games and do other things. But the Turtles make their next move. They're all put into groups. But Cabaxis is getting really pissed off because they failed. But Bebop and Rocksteady show up, and they're saying that they think they know where Don Vizioso could be, but before he said that, Cabaxis literally picks up Bebop, and it's just saying, "Oh, I'm gonna destroy the whole world, including you," and then he almost disintegrates Bebop, but Tiger Claw tells him to stop, as they made their next move to go after Don, but Tiger Claw ends up calling Cabaxis out by saying, "You're a little fixated on the resurrecting my master," but Cabaxis is like, "Oh, I must do what must be done," but we know what Cabaxis is really trying to do. We'll get into that probably in the next episode once we find out what Cabaxis is really up to. But Cabaxis and Tiger Claw go where Don is hiding out with his goons, as they're hiding in a little small apartment. And they're ready to just get out of the country with Shredder's heart. And I'm pretty sure he planned to eat Shredder's heart, which is pretty gross. But all the Turtles and Karai gather together, and they're going to go after the heart. But Leo teams up with Donnie. But Donnie ends up leaving because he's ready to take out Don Vizioso because of his grudge. But Raph, April, and Karai team up, and Mikey ends up going alone. He ends up taking the seal. He ends up taking the seal after they are ambushed by Cabaxis and Tiger Claw, who's attacking Don's goons. So Leo ends up going after Donnie to stop him, and also he wants to go solo. And even Raph is starting to like angry Donnie, but Leo tries to call Donnie down, and he's like, nope. But they end up attacking Tiger Claw, and they end up getting the seal of approval, while Cabaxis is taking down all the goons. He ends up actually taking down the Sylvester Stallone guy, and his last words are, "Hey yo," and then he fries his face, and he dies. It's brutal. He just takes out his little war machine and just tears him apart. But while that's going on, Raph ends up trying to use the seal, but Tiger Claw ends up chasing Mikey because he thinks he has the seal, but he actually has a pizza, of course, that looks like the seal. It actually looks kind of good. But, Tiger Claw ends up trying to take out Mikey, but Mikey ends up jumping off the subway train that they were on, and Mikey ends up getting injured. It's tough. I feel bad for Mikey. He gets beat up a lot this season. But it ends up becoming like a tag game for Cabaxis, because April's throwing the seal, Karai has it, Raph has it, and this kind of becomes a pothole, but April, for some reason, is not able to use the seal. We'll probably get into the next episode, but I think if you're watching, you're probably going to get my point if you've seen this show. But Cabaxis is just like saying how these mortals are not worth his time. He ends up almost taking out April, but I think Tiger Claw ends up getting the seal back, and he ends up controlling Cabaxis, and Cabaxis actually almost grabs the seal, which makes us think, why is he going after his own seal? So he can destroy it. But I think Leo and Donnie sneak in, they take out the goons, and then Leo's like, we're not here for revenge. But they end up confronting Don Vizioso with the heart, but Donnie ends up going to his limit. He literally opens the little knife in his bow staff, and he ends up almost stabbing Don Vizioso, saying, "This is the end." And then I do like the scene where Leo's like, "Donnie, do not lose insight of who you are." But Donnie stops his impulse and says, "We're taking you to jail, and we're taking the heart." But unfortunately, because Donnie let Don Vizioso go, Cabaxis breaks in, and he takes the heart, and he literally explodes the building, and Leo and Donnie barely make it out. But Cabaxis has the seal. The heart. But Karai's wondering tells Leo, like, how are we going to stop the Shredder? And he says, we will do whatever it takes. But, Don Vizioso, this is the last time we see the character. Yeah, his character was definitely wild, like he's a gangster. He kind of reminds me of the Don Tertelli. Do not look him up, by the way. But, his character was okay. I did like the twins, those guys. Those guys were cool. And, like, he even notices when the other characters were fighting, which is cool. The Vizioso gang, they weren't really a big enough threat. They were kind of just like, they made anti-mutant weapons, but now they've been brought to justice. This is the last we ever see of the characters. And Don Vizioso kind of just reminds me of Kingpin. He's like the Kingpin of this universe, but except he like eats large amount of like food. He eats like a large meat, spaghetti. It's like, ooh, he's meant to be like a gross Jabba the Hutt looking dude. But that's the last we ever see of Don. But Cabaxis, meanwhile, in the whole lair, he ends up using the heart, and he ends up resurrecting Shredder with the helmet, and we see a zombie hand of Shredder. So Shredder's back to life, and we don't know what's going to happen, and it looks like it's going to be super interesting. So this was definitely a better episode than the last episode. It wasn't a bad episode. It was just like, I think this episode was a lot more entertaining, since it was cool seeing like Cabaxis like go full beast mode again. It just shows that he does not care what he does. And it just shows how tough he is and them resurrecting Shredder. So there's a lot of stakes in this arc for sure. And yeah, the Donnie grudge versus Don Vizioso thing, it kind of felt a little unnecessary, but I guess it made sense since, yeah, Donnie was almost chopped up by Don Vizioso's goons. But it gave, I guess it gave like a little arc for Donnie, so which is fine, I guess. But overall, this episode was really good. I'd probably give it like a 10. Why not? Well, how about a 9? I think that's fair since I had some criticisms for it. But yeah, the next episode where things get really good. So we're going to be talking about that episode next. So that being said, thanks for watching and Turtle Power!